the truth is that it has been around in traditional Chinese culture for over 1800 years. We can see it really showing up in so many different works from that time, both as food and as medicine. Welcome to the Eversio Experience podcast. I'm Brandi Garden, the co-founder of Eversio Wellness, and I'm here with my co-host Desiree Caruso, who has a background in naturopathic medicine.
We're here to talk all about the world of mushroom wellness because mushrooms are critical to the maintenance of our physical well-being and our collective mental health.
We believe mushrooms are symbols of interconnectedness, and we're so excited to connect you with the health, wellness, and wisdom that they have brought us on our journey to this moment.
Our ancestors had deep cultural connections to mushrooms, but today they remain understudied, undervalued, and often misunderstood by much of modern society.
So we are here to change that. Eversio means change, and it's our mission to change lives through fungi.
There is a mushroom for every moment.
And we're so glad you're here to share this moment with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Eversio Experience podcast. I am Brandi Garden, the co-founder of Eversio Wellness, and I am here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Desiree Caruso, naturopathic physician. Today, we are going to talk to you about one of my favorite mushrooms, but a mushroom that we don't talk about very much. We are talking about Maitake today. Why are we doing that? Because we're launching a new product, and this episode is going to explain all about why we are doing that. On the huge list of all of the things that we have dreamed about launching over here at Eversio, Maitake is the crowd favorite. It's the one that I'm going to say, Dr. Des, it's been over a year that we have been talking about Maitake at the team table and about whether it's going to be the one that wins out if we were going to bring one mushroom in a capsule into our lineup. And we love the mushrooms that we have, but we said goodbye to Tremolo this year, and we're going to bring Tremolo back. We talked about launching a 5 mushroom blend coming this summer in a previous episode. So if you have not listened to the episode about perimenopause and menopause, you need to go back and hear about 5 mushroom blend and why that one is coming. But this episode, we're talking about a capsule product, and it is going to be just Maitake. And here's why. Because we looked at our community. We looked at the needs and the wants of all of you in the Eversio community. We read the reviews. We've looked at the emails over and over again and come up with what we think are the greatest concerns right now in our community. And when we look at what those are, and Dr. Desiree is going to go into great detail about all of the health benefits of Maitake, that led us to look at the research. And when we dive into the research, we go deep. We are looking at clinical trials, we're looking at studies, we're looking at anecdotal stories, we're looking at the super mushroom nerdiness in what we would call mycotherapy, mycomedicine. All of the mushroom nerds out there love to compile everything we know about what's being cultivated well and what we're able to do with it in the human body. So we're looking at herbalists, we're looking at traditional Chinese medicine doctors, we're looking at scientists like mycologists who study these things as well. And when we dove into the research, Maitake comes up over and over and over again as the one that we need in a higher dose. So right now what's available is we have Maitake in our 4 mushroom blend. So it's 1/4 of that blend. There will be Maitake in our 5 mushroom blend, so we love it. But we're looking at a really high therapeutic dose of this mushroom based on what the research shows it can do. And we're so excited to share that with you today. The third step after we've done the research is to formulate this kind of a product. And we really rely on Dr. Shannon. She's another ND that works with us here at Eversio to go to Health Canada, to go to the FDA, to go to USDA organic certification and look at what we can actually formulate here in Canada and be able to get the certifications, an NPN number, which is a license to sell a supplement in Canada, to look at organic certification and what's necessary there, to be able to come up with what we believe will be the best fruiting body only, hot water, Maitake mushroom extract capsule on the market today. We're going to go big. We're going to go big. So today's episode is all about just that. We've been through all of that. We've spent a year coming up with what we think is going to make a great difference in the lives of you and our community. So very soon on our website, this summer, we can promise you, you are going to see a beautiful brand new product. It's gorgeous. And it's Maitake in a capsule. It will be an 8-to-1 hot water extract. And when we went to Health Canada, we just say to them, what's the max? What is the maximum acceptable dose that you will allow us to give to Canadians today? And for Maitake, that is 7,000 milligrams on the mushroom monograph from Health Canada. So when we go to formulate, we want people to be able to take 1 or 2 capsules. Now, why? We have decided that we are going to put 400 milligrams of 8-to-1 extract in a capsule. So that means that you are going to get 3,200 milligrams quantity crude equivalent in a capsule, or 6,400 milligrams quantity crude equivalent in 2 capsules, very close to the maximum acceptable dose. Why not put it all in one capsule? Because so many of you love to take the 4 mushroom blend. So many of you are going to want to use the 5 mushroom blend. And if you really want to up your Maitake game, we want you to be able to do both things. We want you to be able to put this 5 mushroom blend in your matcha in the morning, in your smoothie, in your coffee or tea. We want you to be able to then add a Maitake capsule onto that to get all of the benefits we're going to talk about today. Or if you're someone who's putting 4 mushroom blend, which is Maitake, shiitake, reishi, and lion's mane, maybe you're putting that in a hot cocoa in the evening. We don't want you to get over that maximum dose and have to eliminate something you're already loving. So we are going to give you a huge dose. We're going to work with Health Canada to make sure it's the max that we can get to you. And I love this about formulating Maitake in a capsule. Right now at Eversio, we only have one product that we can actually say is 100% safe and certified safe during pregnancy and breastfeeding, and that is our reishi capsules. But Maitake is another mushroom that has no cautions or warnings around pregnancy or breastfeeding. But we've only ever had it in a blend with other mushrooms. Now that Maitake is going to be in a capsule by itself, we are going to have another mushroom that is completely safe to consume during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Which, you know, in my opinion, if you can take it when you're breastfeeding or you can take it during pregnancy, you could probably give it to your kids. Even though Health Canada doesn't want us to say that. This is just another mushroom that is so well researched that the safety is as good as the efficacy. So without further ado, Dr. Desiree, tell us a little bit about what you said in those meetings about why it was going to be important to bring Maitake to the table. Just give us a little summary of what these health benefits are that we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, the main benefits is that it's supportive of the immune system. I mean, in Asia, it's been used for over 20 years to support individuals with their immune system and chemotherapy as an adjunctive therapy. And then also for blood sugar regulation and for hormonal balance.
Yeah, and I think when we looked at the greatest need in our community, there are so many of you looking for hormone balance. There are so many of you looking for even greater immune support than you already have for various things. A lot of autoimmune disease out there, looking for modulation of the immune system is something everybody needs. So we're gonna dive into it's the big metabolic health question too, which comes up for us in so many different ways. So we're gonna dive into those things. But first, I gotta get nerdy. I gotta get a little bit nerdy and tell you the history of Maitake. And the truth is that it has been around in traditional Chinese culture for over 1,800 years. We can see it really showing up in so many different works from that time, both as food and as medicine, because it's delicious. And it's widely available to us here now in British Columbia. We have many Asian markets. We see it showing up in lots of restaurants in Vancouver. I've talked about this before. There are a couple of Michelin star restaurants in downtown Vancouver that have Maitake on the menu in different ways, but Kentucky Fried Maitake is becoming a bit of a cult following here in Vancouver because it tastes like chicken. And no surprise, people call it hen of the woods. That's a common name for it. If you find it in the wild, people will harvest it and take it home to have it for dinner in place of their chicken. It is the hen of the woods. In Latin, the name is Grifola frondosa, mispronounced by so many people. When I've listened to other podcasts where people talk about it and they'll say all kinds of different things, but it's a beautiful name. And in Japanese, that translation is the dancing mushroom. And the reason for that is because when our ancestors found it in the wild, they would literally do a happy dance right there when they found it, because it's that valuable. I was just reading recently that there was a time in Asian history where Maitake was equivalent in weight to silver, worth its weight in silver. That's how valuable it was. Today, we have learned to cultivate it. And of course, we cultivate our mushrooms outdoors. We cultivate them with a practice that is called DDAO. And this is important to us because we think that things should stay as close to nature as they can. So we are always trying to bring in things that are grown in the place that they would grow in nature, in the atmospheric pressure and energy and vibration in nature where they would grow, in the humidity where they would grow, with the natural amount of sunlight where they would grow. And then our mushrooms, of course, are not only harvested from being grown outdoors on wood. In this case, our Maitake mushrooms are grown on oak, because they would grow on oak in nature. Here in Canada, I found them growing on maple, another hardwood, but they're going to grow on wood, not on grain. So everything we're going to talk about here today and these benefits are if you are finding Maitake mushrooms that have been grown on wood, the way Mother Nature meant for them to be grown. So these mushrooms are not new. They're just new to us in North America because we tend to not pay attention to what's going on in Eastern culture, but they are no stranger. They are popular in Asian science today because researchers have found that they contain over 47 identified bioactive compounds. And when you get that many interesting compounds in a mushroom, that's where the research begins. What are each of those compounds doing? And of course, we love to bring the mushroom with all of its compounds. We're never isolating one thing. We test for beta-glucans. The product that we have formulated, it's ready to go. It's in final testing, has 40% beta-D-glucans. So this is huge for what we're going to talk about with immune health. It's a heavy hitter for sure. But we also know that there are other things in there that we're going to talk to you about today that we just aren't able to test for because they're really small molecular weight molecules, or we just literally don't have the testing methods developed for them here in Canada. But we know that Maitake is bringing it. It's bringing it with so many benefits inside. So I think that we will dive in. I think Dr. Desiree, it's not just folklore. It's not just all of this great history and culture and the fun names of things. These are massively beneficial for people's health and wellness. So can you dive in and start talking to us about how we are going to use these to affect our optimal health and wellness?
So quickly, I'll touch on the immune system and how it can support that. And then I really want to talk a lot about blood sugar and metabolism because that's really a buzzword topic in the wellness space right now is metabolic health. And we know that blood sugar is so important for hormone health and it's so important for the foundations of health too.
Yes.
So with the immune system, Maitake can help to activate macrophages and natural killer cells within our immune system, which can help to support immune resilience, especially in people who are undergoing chemotherapy or dealing with chronic immune suppression. And that's really what we've found in the research, and especially in Asia. It's been approved for clinical therapy in parts of Asia as well. And I know that they do use it as concomitant therapy for individuals who are undergoing chemotherapy and other forms of treatment for cancer, in addition to turkey tail. But I get really excited about blood sugar and metabolism with Maitake, and it's really because that is the foundation for optimal hormone health and really just for optimal health in general. So Maitake has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and glucose uptake. And there was this pilot study from 2001 that took place over 2 to 4 weeks, and they found that there was a 30 to 63% reduction in fasting blood glucose among all participants with type 2 diabetes.
Wow. That's better than many pharmaceuticals on the market today.
Well, the cool thing is too about this study is that it was a shorter period of time as opposed to longer studies that we typically see in the functional mushroom space. And it was 2 to 4 weeks. And that is a huge improvement. And especially with individuals who have type 2 diabetes. And we know that insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance is really a big, it's the root cause for particular hormonal imbalances like PCOS or even infertility and things like that, just in general. When when our blood sugar is not balanced and we're resistant to insulin, that totally throws off our mood. We can be more anxious.
Yes.
Like, do you actually have anxiety, or are you insulin resistant and you're just experiencing blood sugar changes very rapidly? So it's a really big piece. And I love this research because it also seems to work by enhancing this peripheral glucose transport. What that means in English is it's essentially helping your tissues bring in that sugar that's from your blood and into the tissues, which also helps reduce spikes and crashes in blood sugar. And that's why, sometimes when we have certain foods, we notice a huge crash because our cells in our tissues are resistant to those changes. It's like the thermometer is kind of off and not totally working, and it doesn't detect any changes. And it needs these big changes in temperature or big changes in blood sugar to really notice a difference. And this impaired glucose uptake is commonly seen in individuals with type 2 diabetes and in hormonal imbalance. And if you don't know what type 2 diabetes is essentially from lifestyle and dietary factors. That's really the biggest thing with the standard American diet. Yeah. So what this means is that there's more stable energy, there can be fewer cravings, and even support for healthy weight management, which is a big piece too.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna jump in right here, and just something that's so interesting is that I mentioned that we were excited about Maitake not having these cautions and warnings around pregnancy and breastfeeding, but I'm going to mention that the only one caution and warning that you will see on the label of the product we're going to put out is a warning that says consult a healthcare practitioner prior to use if you have diabetes. So that's interesting that now we know why. Why do we have to say that if you're going to consume this product and you have diabetes, you can consult your practitioner first? Because if you're taking a medication for that, you're going to alter the need for that because this could act in a similar way. So interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And that's where your healthcare practitioner is going to be able to advise you based on if you are taking a medication that's helping to improve the sensitivity of your tissues and your cells in your body to blood sugar changes, and you're taking Maitake, then maybe there do need to be some, cautions or different interventions. But I mean, a lot of individuals think of functional mushrooms as food. And as naturopathic doctors, we're trying to make the least invasive changes first. And with supplements and or food, things like Maitake, it can be, an easier intervention for people to change, because that's a big thing. And not only is, blood sugar and insulin resistance a really big thing within our community, and like it's an epidemic in terms of individuals struggling with blood sugar. Like it's involved in so many health conditions: hormonal imbalance, infertility, cholesterol, heart health, inflammation, like you name it, it's involved in that. So if we can really help to strengthen the foundation of our blood sugar regulation, we're going to feel less stressed and we're going to feel safer within our body. I like these other studies on Maitake because they really demonstrate that this like anti-diabetic activity. Now, I say that term loosely because it's not actually anti-diabetic in the sense of if you are diabetic, take this and it's a replacement to insulin. It's not.
No, we don't want to get our kneecaps broken.
Totally. But this activity where it's supporting blood sugar and making it more sensitive, researchers think that this may be due to the inhibition of alpha glucosidase activity. So what is alpha glucosidase activity? Well, alpha glucosidase is an enzyme that breaks down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars, and its inhibitors are used to manage type 2 diabetes by slowing down carbohydrate absorption and reducing post-meal blood sugar spikes. So you know how sometimes you eat certain foods that trigger massive spikes in your blood sugar, and if you're eating, more simple carbs, processed foods, that will have a larger spike than if you're eating whole foods or, a meal balanced with protein and fats and complex carbohydrates. So these alpha glucosidase inhibitors can inhibit the absorption of carbohydrates from the small intestine. And they competitively inhibit enzymes that convert these non-absorbable carbohydrates into simple absorbable carbohydrates.
Cool.
And so essentially these inhibitors work by slowing down the digestion of starchy foods. So an example, potatoes, bread, rice from the gut. And this means that blood sugar levels rise more slowly after meals.
That is huge. That is huge. You know, I've talked about this on the podcast before. A big change for Craig and I in our health and wellness journey was agreeing not to move from the dinner table to the couch.
Right.
Where, I mean, we see huge research in this, just moving after. Yeah. But we know when you say that blood sugar levels rise more slowly after meals, anything we can do to make them rise more slowly, and movement is one of those things. So if you are moving from the dinner table to the couch, just stop that right now. You need to go for a walk. You need to eat and then move. And maybe it's getting up and doing the dishes together and then going for a walk. That's huge. I think a lot of people are struggling with blood sugar instability without even realizing that that is what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So you can, incorporate Maitake in this way to support your blood sugar levels after a meal. You can go for a walk, and that doesn't mean go for a run or a brisk walk. Yeah. It's very slow to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. There's some more research on Maitake that I also find interesting, not only just from this blood sugar perspective, but also with cholesterol, because we've talked a lot about that with heart health, and a lot of individuals are thinking, well, I don't want to go on a statin. I'm asked about this weekly in clinical practice. Like, I don't want to go on a statin. Yeah. What can I do now? My levels are approaching. My family doctor is saying, it's about statin time. Yeah. What can I do? So there is also some research where they observed that the fruiting body of Maitake significantly reduced serum triglycerides, so that's fats, lipids, cholesterol, and phospholipid levels in rats by 30 to 80%. So that's a very big decrease, while also lowering liver weight by 60 to 70% and increasing fecal cholesterol excretion by 1.8 times.
Wow.
So what that means is it's helping to support a healthy liver, because if our blood sugar is high, that can lead to fatty liver disease. That is what essentially impairs our liver. And so it can help the liver from a blood sugar standpoint, but then also from a cholesterol and triglyceride standpoint. Yes. And the reason why, it's great that they found that it was increasing cholesterol content in the feces is because that is one way in which our body excretes and gets rid of excess cholesterol. And so when that process is working smoothly and optimally, then our cholesterol levels can be within check.
So cool. We see it leaving the body in those tests. I love that so much. Dr. Des, what is it about statins that people don't want? Why are they trying to stay off of a pharmaceutical statin?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing is that no matter what pharmaceutical you're taking, there is always a side effect. And sometimes the benefits outweigh the risks, and people do need it. But with statins, the most common side effects for individuals are muscle pain, gastrointestinal upset. Yeah. But really, it's the pain. A lot of individuals experience this myalgic pain and just really don't feel good. And especially for individuals who have arthritis or autoimmune conditions, they don't need more pain and inflammation.
Absolutely. And I have a family member that's just recently gone through this, discovered cholesterol levels surprisingly high for someone who actually eats a fairly plant-based diet, does eat meat and consumes some dairy, but not excessively. This is not someone that you would look at them and typically think, oh, this person probably has high cholesterol, because they look like somebody that might have that, which makes no sense in clinical practice, but it is the stigma around these things. And this family member was prescribed by a family doctor to take a statin and experienced excruciating pain, and couldn't even necessarily relate that was it until taking the time to really start journaling the day-to-day and look back at what had happened, what had changed, and coming off of it and replacing it with mushrooms has been a game changer. And the cholesterol is down, but you have to take it. You do have to be consistent with a mushroom. Oyster mushroom is the other one that we have often talked about with great benefits for cholesterol. But as we've talked about in other episodes, Health Canada does not still in 2025, with all the research, does not recognize oyster mushroom as a medicinal mushroom, which means we cannot put it in a capsule. We could never get an NPN license on it. So people, you have to eat the oyster mushrooms, and they're delicious. You know, I put them in my air fryer all the time. So I think increasing the amount of mushroom you're eating in your diet is going to be beneficial for your cholesterol management. And if you can get oyster mushroom and Maitake mushroom, they're going to be your two heaviest hitters for these natural statin effects of them. And if you are someone that says, no, Brandi, I'm never going to eat mushrooms because they're gross and weird and squishy and I hate them and I can't stand the taste and it's just not happening. Well, that's why Eversio Wellness was born. Because when we extract them, we give them to people in an accessible way if they're not going to. I'm always going to tell you to eat the mushrooms first. If you can do that and include them in your diet, and I'm not talking about once a month, you need to get them in regularly if you want the benefits from them. You can eat them in so many different ways. I think we need to publish a cookbook, Dr. Des. I think we need to do that.
I think that's on the list. Yeah.
It's on the list. But if you aren't going to eat them and you want to get the benefits of the mushrooms, that's why we're putting them through an extraction process, because we're able to concentrate those beneficial compounds without giving you all of the other stuff, the actual mass of the mushroom that I love, the food part of it, and we're giving you essentially the medicine from inside that does the work. So I love that cholesterol research. I think it's so important for people to know that Mother Nature has your frickin' back. You do not need a pharmaceutical to manage the things that you have created by the lifestyle you have lived. You can change your lifestyle and you can use Mother Nature to come in, and she has provided these things for you.
And the thing is too, like some food for thought here, you know,
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Atherosclerosis starts to develop in your 20s.
Yeah.
It's the food that you eat, like, you know, high cholesterol takes decades to develop, to get to the point to where you're at. You know, if you have high cholesterol, it's not something that typically just happens out of nowhere. These are long-term changes. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't all of a sudden get higher levels of cholesterol, because there are reasons where you could, and, you know, for example, PCOS and hypothyroidism, and there are other conditions that can be a factor for, you know, the increase in frequency very quickly.
Or the keto diet trend.
The keto diet trend. But the thing, you know, that's food for thought, is that something that takes a long time to develop. If you're trying to reverse it naturally, you do need to remind yourself to be patient. It took you a long time and many versions of yourself every single day to get to the point where you're at. You need to put that work in and be consistent with it. And, you know, when you're trying to change lifestyle factors, it can take some time. Yeah,
you need to be a patient to yourself when you become the CEO of your own health. Okay, I want to go back to talking about hormones a little bit, because we know we have men and women in our audience, but the women are winning right now. We have a high percentage of women in our community, and that is part of the development of these two new products. Is most of these women are either in perimenopause, which the definition for that stage of life sits about age 35 to 50-ish. That's perimenopause. And then, it could vary on either side, of course. And then after 50, we're looking at menopausal and then postmenopausal for most women. And that's our community. That's you guys out there listening. Most of you will find that you either fit in there, or you're married to someone, or you're dating someone that fits within that. And when we launched the episode about perimenopause, menopause, and we announced the launch of 5 Mushroom Blend in that, I cannot tell you how many emails, phone calls Lori got, comments on Instagram and our DMs from men. Oh, I have goosebumps talking about this. Personal text to my text of people in my family and friend group that heard that episode and texted me saying, I want this for my wife. Can I get that for my girlfriend right now? You know, she has all of those things that you're talking about, and I would do anything to help her, especially if it could be something natural. So we saw the need. We've started talking about it. Everybody's hungry for it, because so many women out there are in this age and stage, perimenopause, menopause. And when we talk about that, we're speaking of hormones. So Dr. Des, tell us, what about Maitake specifically for women?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is anecdotal evidence with Maitake, and we've talked about our cyclical living protocol where it's thought that mushrooms work better in synergy. And there are many different compounds found within mushroom extracts and in Maitake extracts, and then utilizing it within a blend. And that's where a 5 mushroom blend is going to be this powerhouse for hormone support for women of all ages, no matter what sort of changes you are going through. So Maitake being better together, but there's a couple different hormonal pictures that we think of for Maitake. And we just talked about that blood sugar insulin piece. And that's really important because we know that blood sugar and insulin is, friends with cortisol, which is our stress hormone. So when that's in check, then, we can feel more balanced. But particular hormonal conditions like PCOS is something that has, individuals have had really great benefits with Maitake. So there was this clinical trial that studied Maitake in women with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and found that 66.7% of the Maitake group ovulated compared to only 30.8% in the control group.
So cool.
So cool. Like,
in case you're terrible at math, that's more than double.
Yeah, exactly. That's more than double. And that's something that individuals with PCOS will really struggle with is ovulation.
Yes.
And they will struggle with conceiving.
Yeah.
And it appeared in this research that researchers said, Maitake may also promote the aromatization of testosterone into estrogen, which may help to balance androgen levels and regulate cycles. So individuals and women with PCOS, they have higher levels of androgens and lower levels of our other hormones. And so if we can kind of really tilt the balance so that there's less of those androgenic hormones, then we can maybe look towards optimal hormone health. We can ovulate properly and we can be more optimal in terms of conceiving. So it's also been studied as an adjunct to clomiphene citrate, which is a common fertility medication. And this medication is often prescribed by gynecologists, OB-GYNs, and it essentially induces ovulation. So it's forcing your body to ovulate. But Maitake has been studied as an adjunct. So not only are they using clomiphene citrate, they're also prescribing Maitake.
Better together.
And they found that individuals with both Maitake and clomiphene citrate have experienced better levels of ovulation. And this is something that women with PCOS will struggle with. And even if you're somebody who doesn't have PCOS, maybe there has been difficulty conceiving or difficulty with fertility. But Maitake can naturally help that, whether you're using and being prescribed a pharmaceutical like clomiphene citrate or not.
Yeah, and I love that. We also know that Maitake is an adaptogen.
Yeah.
Right? It has adaptogenic properties. And I think the women in my friend circle who have taken the pharmaceuticals, I have many friends who struggled with pregnancy, unlike Craig and I, who could literally wash our underwear together and get pregnant. They were taking pharmaceuticals to help. But I know that in their life, as they struggled, they also found that as they reduced stress in whatever way was right for them, that is when they became pregnant. And I love that with the research around Maitake as an adaptogen, we know that the compounds, we know that there is a specific mechanism of action for so many of the compounds in a mushroom like Maitake. But when we look at the overall picture of it as an adaptogen, it's also helping whoever is taking it, man, woman, whoever, to be able to experience what it's like to be regulated in their nervous system in some way, to manage stress better, to have better stress resilience. And sometimes you just need that little bit of help to make a pharmaceutical that you're taking work better, to help you in your day-to-day life activities that will lead you to a pregnancy. It's never one thing. So I have no doubt Maitake is doing things on so many levels as a modulator, as something that is, whether it's your immune system or your hormones, we're not increasing them and we're not decreasing them. We're bringing them back into homeostasis where they were meant to be. Mushrooms, you say this all the time, Dr. Des, mushrooms bring you back to yourself. We share 50% of our DNA with mushrooms. What they're going through in their little fruiting bodies is very similar to what's happening in our body. They create ergosterol, which is the equivalent of us having cholesterol. They know there's an intelligence in there. What's happening for them is trying to be matched up for us. So I'm not surprised by those incredible results. I'm so hopeful for so many in our community to experience what it's like to have this full therapeutic dose of a Maitake extract, so that they might experience these benefits, but maybe they weren't when they were just getting a little bit of Maitake, say in the 4-mushroom blend. And there are lots of Maitake products on the market, but to get one, we're super nerds. Like we came to play, go big or go home, to get the full therapeutic dose and to be able to take it with consistency, because we're not developing this as a pharmaceutical. There are pharmaceutical grade Maitake products on the market today that are prescribed as a pharmaceutical, and they are highly isolated. So they're isolating things like D fraction or SS fraction, they're called, out of the Maitake mushroom, and super concentrating these 1 or 2 compounds, because research shows how incredible they are for things like blood sugar balance or hormone balance. We're not doing that because we don't want to sell you our product for $400 or $500, which is what it would cost if we went through those processes. We are going to bring something in the most natural way we can, using hot water extraction, to concentrate things in the levels, the percentages of how Mother Nature built them for you. And I just love that with consistency, people will take this for a month and see the difference on blood work. They will feel the difference in their body. It makes me so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I also want to point out that I know we've talked a lot about research on Maitake for ovulation, but I do really want to point out that whether you're looking to conceive or not, ovulation is optimal for a woman's hormones and to have healthy hormones, to have a healthy menstrual cycle, whether you're trying to conceive or not. It's an indicator of health. Our hormonal cycle, our menstrual cycle, approximately 28 days, is an indicator of our health. So the more optimal that we can have it, where we don't have all of these excess symptoms, where we are ovulating, where, we aren't experiencing these big changes and crashes, where our blood sugar is more stable and regulated, that's where we can be more grounded and we can have optimal health and feel like our best self.
Absolutely. And ovulation is the best time of the cycle, right? It's the best time. It's the time when we feel most like being out in the world and being social and getting after projects. And I think we don't want to miss that. We don't want to miss that. We're meant to experience that. I like to think it's how sometimes men feel like that when they wake up in the morning every single day, because their hormones are so in this 24-hour cycle instead of our 28-day cycle. So we don't want to miss that. Okay, before we finish up, I do want to talk about our best friend, ergothioneine. Can you just, we call this the longevity vitamin all the time. Ergothioneine is present in all of the mushrooms, but there are some mushrooms that have more ergothioneine in them, and Maitake is one of those. So Dr. Des, can you just give us a little short reminder of why we're excited about the ergo that we're going to get from Maitake?
I think excited is an understatement, but ergothioneine is a potent intracellular antioxidant that is found in mushrooms like Maitake, which is why we're super excited. Our bodies cannot make it, so you do have to get it from food, and it accumulates in the brain, heart, liver, and reproductive organs. So it's associated with protection against oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and even cognitive decline.
Yeah, we want it. We want lots of it. I'm a super nerd for the ergo. We are big believers that ergo is going to be the next big wave in mushroom medicine. We have to do a better job of testing for it. We have tested for it in the past. We are always looking for labs. If you own a lab and you could please develop a method for testing these things reliably at an affordable price, we want to talk to you, because we know that they're in there, and we want to be able to, one of our core values at Eversio is transparency. So if you go on our website today and you go under the Learn tab, you're going to see all of our COAs there, our certificates of analysis, where we're testing not only for safety, we're testing for aflatoxins. People will say, oh, fruiting body mushrooms are full of mycotoxins. You could say it if you want. We've tested for it. The COA is there. They're not. We test for heavy metals. We test for all of the microbiologies, things like E. coli and salmonella and yeasts and all the things you could imagine. But we also test for efficacy. We test for the beta-D-glucans, the fungal beta-D-glucans. We make sure there's no grain there so that those tests will never come up as false positives. And we have been able to test for hericenones and lion's mane, cordycepin and cordyceps, ganoduric acids, the triterpenoids and reishi. For Maitake, we know just by reading the research, it's going to be full of ergothioneine. We can't necessarily get a great test for that right now, but we would like to. So we believe it's going to be the next wave when the science catches up in North America and allows us to do the testing that we should have to be able to show the quality of a product there. We know it's incredibly protective, ergothioneine. We know it is essential for us as we age into a humanity that's going to live longer, right? There are still the kooks out there, some of them are my very close friends, that believe you, Dr. Desiree, the millennials, might not die. There are people that believe that there is a possibility that with AI, with all of the scientific advancements, the greater access to knowledge, mushrooms making a comeback, that there are generations behind us that could live forever if they wanted to, but they're not going to be able to do it without using things that Mother Nature is creating specifically for longevity. And that's why scientists are calling it the longevity vitamin. Super nerdy, super excited about it. But I think we've done a good job of explaining why Maitake was the winner. Gosh, we had so many products. We were almost going to make a matcha latte. I'm not going to lie. We like to drink a lot of matcha, and we had thought, do we bring out a mushroom matcha product? And we looked at it, but I mean, it's not our expertise. In the end of the day, we're mushroom nerds, and we want to stay in our lane and do what we're really good at. And we'll keep sourcing matcha from people who are experts at that, and we'll just put our mushrooms into it. So there it is, folks. Maitake in a capsule, coming soon to you. Now you know why. We hope you're going to love it as much as we've been loving it. We hope you're going to pair it up with that 5 mushroom blend and change your life. We hope that it's going to help you come back to yourself and realize that you have everything you need inside of you to heal without pharmaceuticals or surgeries, but it's okay to ask Mother Nature for help when you need it, whether that's eating mushrooms, going out for a mushroom walk in the forest and being in nature to feel what it's like to get out of a dysregulated nervous system and bring yourself back to a balanced state. We just hope that it's going to bring you as much joy as it has brought us in formulating it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited to bring 5 mushroom blend and Maitake out to the world, to take it myself. And I think so many people are going to benefit from it.
All right, everyone. Until next time, stay well.
Be well.
We hope you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushroom wellness to your life, you can use code podcast15 to save 15% on your entire order at eversiowellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.